Leafs talk. JD Bunkis, Sam McKee. Leafs win in a big game. Feels nice to say. How you feeling?
Great. That was a great win. That was a really good, tight checking hockey game. Both teams had periods of dominance throughout it. And in the third period, where there's been so many question marks about this core and these guys, it's not the playoffs yet, but this is as close to a playoff type game as you're going to get. You had Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews have their best periods of the season in what was a must-win game for the Leafs. If you're a Leaf fan, baby, that's got to feel pretty good because I know it does for me. So how are you feeling?
I'll be honest. There's some overall pretty pleased. Like they came through. I don't really care about the asterisk stuff in terms of who the Panthers were missing. Injuries are a reality of the sport. Yeah. You can only play who's in front of you. And I thought that for 2 periods in this hockey game, the Leafs looked like the materially better team, which was important to me. I think that this was another big feather in the cap for Mitch Marner, that there were very important moments from Austin Matthews that I want to dig into a little bit more in this game or in the show. I think that second line has officially established itself as maybe the thing that you rely on almost more than anything other than the top pair. And I thought that the goaltender sparkled in moments in this hockey game and really showed some mettle after looking shaky at times and kind of proved to fans that there's something to be confident here. So overall, like the checklist for the Leafs in this one was pretty positive to me, buddy.
Yeah, I think you definitely can have the conversation about who's missing on the Panthers. And I guess, you brought it up there. It's as relevant a time as any to have the conversation. Yeah, like they're clearly missing some great players, but Matthew Tkachuk hasn't been playing for half the season. He's not really, a factor until the playoffs start. And then Barkov misses. He gets hurt last night. Like they don't have Ekblad. I understand that those guys are missing, but it's not like they don't have great players. It's not like they don't have championship pedigree. And you saw throughout that game that that's what they have. They have championship pedigree guys who, regardless of who's in and out of the lineup, they find a way to compete and they find a way to stay in games. And I thought when the third period got there, it was a team that was shorthanded on the second half of back-to-back, and the Leafs put the pedal down. They were the stronger team. They were the more aggressive team. They were the more fit team, energy levels way higher, and they took advantage of it in a spot where they should have, and they haven't done that a lot of times in years past, where it's supposed to be easy, and that's often the times where you're like, how many mentions did you get tonight when they said Barkov wasn't playing, where you're just like, oh, Panthers are winning? Like, that's just that's like a calling card of this Leafs team, and they overcame that. Like, I know they're shorthanded, but that's still an important win.
I thought for sure after the first period when they played so well that there was going to be an immediate Panthers goal in the second period. Like they took the penalty at the end. Panthers scored, and I thought, oh, okay, like this game has a chance to just be an ugly, like 2-0 loss where we're debating a goal and we're debating the star players. And to the point about like those guys not having their key dudes, man,
sorry, we just got a great message in our chat. Leafs are missing Patches and Hockenpah. Fair trade for those Panthers injuries.
Yeah, they lost Camp. They lost Camp in this game too.
Yeah, I mean that's how can you overcome those three?
Yeah, completely forgot what I was saying.
No, sorry, I was just funny. You were just talking about overcoming the injuries of the Panthers, and you were going to make a point about it.
Well, just like the Leafs have laid eggs in big moments to bad teams before.
Yes.
Like Absolutely. They've lost to the Montreal Canadiens in the playoff series. They're up 3-1. Yeah. They've lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets in the playoffs. They've lost big games to inferior hockey teams. And so the fact that the Panthers were a little shorthanded, like, yeah, give me that team 10 out of 10 times over anything that you saw in those 2 playoff series. So for me, it's like, I think that there's the 2 biggest takeaways for me in this game are that the Stars are able to actually have a moment where they came through in a spot where they needed to win and all the pressure was on them. And that the goaltender, I think, showed a lot tonight and earned basically the benefit of the doubt moving forward here.
Yep. I think we can start with the Stars. And I think both of us, I mean, I sent out a tweet at the end of the second period being like, it felt like at the end of that second, Panthers tilted it a bit. They had the more, and they were dangerous. And there was some times where Anthony Stolarz had to be pretty solid at the end of that second period where they were really hemming the Leafs in. And sure, like I sent a tweet saying that 16 and 34 kind of need to arrive in this game to avoid some pretty scary flashbacks here. And I think we all could have gone through this game and the game could have ended and they didn't contribute in this third period, and it would have been a pretty familiar feeling. So I think to have them sort of rise to the occasion like they did in this game was a unique feeling. And I think you even saw it from Marner. Like, he scores that go-ahead goal there. That is a playoff-esque, Four Nations game winner-esque fist pump from Mitch Marner. These guys feel the narrative that's around them. They understand what people talk about. They know the way that it's gone for them in the playoffs. Clearly, how could they not? But like, that goal to me just felt like a release for Marner. He likes to celebrate a goal. I understand that, but that was a massive celebration. And it just kind of showed to me how important this game was to the Leafs, how important this moment was for these guys, not to get over the hump because the playoffs haven't started, but just to have any big moment in any big game here that propelled to a massive win that could potentially help them win the division. It's a huge third for these Stars. It just is.
So I know that there are people, because I saw some of it where it was like, act like you've been there before. And it's like, the Leafs haven't been there before. They've literally never won the division before. What do you mean act like you've been there before? They don't come through in big games. I loved the reaction from Mitch Marner on that goal. I loved the emotion. I swear to God, dude, you can tell how the Leafs are going based on how they celebrate their goals. When Matthews is fist pumping and Matthews is doing the like Christ pose thing, and when John Tavares is into the double fist. When you're getting emotion from this team, that's a good signifier for this group. They've been hammered for lacking emotion in the past. So I loved seeing that. I will say this, dude. I thought 16 and 34, outside of the first period where Matthews had a couple of like notable moments and notable shifts early, they completely ghosted in the second period.
Yeah.
And for that first stretch in the third, I was like, ugh, are you guys really going to do this again? So I just thought that this was a massive flip in the narrative for those two specifically. Marner obviously bigger because he's up for a contract, and anytime he has a bad game in a big moment, it's like, you want how much money, right? And all of that ends up spiraling out. But for him to now have like this year, the Four Nations, and then a goal in this game, and then also the saucer pass that becomes on the game, the actual game-winning goal, like the two pivotal offensive plays of this game, depending on how you feel about like the Nylander pass. I just don't know how that couldn't build your confidence as a player.
That is a beautiful stretch pass to hit Matthew Knies, who to me has a bit of a clutch gene almost. I know we used clutch gene last time, but like, he was on the goal. He was on the ice for all three overtime winners against Tampa.
Let me just track this. Lorentz clutch gene, Knies clutch
but Knies. But like, the reason I'm bringing this up is because like, he does not seem afraid of these big moments. And he seems like new blood in these moments. And you think of he scored the overtime winner. Was it game 5 last year against Boston, in Boston, to extend the series? He just seems to have a knack for arriving in these big moments. And that's a huge goal for the Leafs. But just to go back to Mitch, I thought Matthews had a couple moments throughout this game where like, he was noticeable at least, and he looked physical, and he looked like him and Knies were cycling the puck a little bit. But the Marner thing was looking like the playoff Marner, puck exploding off of his stick. Not smooth, not his usual self. And it's
afraid of contact.
I don't know. Was it who was it? Forsling, where they were going out in the neutral zone, and instead of like trying to drop the shoulder and go around him, he tries to chip it around him and tries to jump around him. Looks like he's a little bit scared of contact. And then just, I don't know, to have it flip like that for him, the great shift that leads to him hammering one in the slot. I think Matthews had moments in this game where he was good, not great. But for them to do that in the third, man, I was so impressed and surprised. That's the crazy part, is it was surprising.
I like what you said about the Matthews physicality, because I actually think that, again, we've been doing the looking for Matthews leadership moments.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that the third started because of the way Matthews started to use his body and how engaged he was in the offensive zone. Like this shift for them was, outside of the playmaking, was the most impressive stuff that I saw from Matthews all game. Like, if you're watching on YouTube, he's going to end up just battling for pucks here, using his body, and actually goes into a corner and hits somebody, like really hits somebody, knocks someone over, and gets a puck back after an icing call. And I want to see a little bit more of that from Matthews in games like this, dude. Like, shifts like this, that's what matters to me with Austin Matthews more almost as much as anything else with this team.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that a hit. I would call that sitting a guy in the truck. Like he just sat him down. There was not
Shoved
like
him down.
a hit sort of implies physical contact between two guys. That was not between, that was a one-way street, putting your hand on a guy's chest and sitting him down. Like that was, as you know, that's when you see Matthews do that, first of all, it makes you long for more. Like,
yeah, that's
if he found that, like if he did that twice a game, he'd just be, the most popular Leaf. He's already really popular, but if you could find that physical edge more, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to ask for that. But if you can just get it here and there, and you're right, like that is when I find he's really engaged, when the body's going. And when he does that, I kind of put the injury fears not totally behind me, because it's always bubbling up with him, and he can always kind of, I'm not fully there. I won't ever fully be there, because you know me, I'm an injury worrier, and the transcontinental flight will still always be in the
word injury. You could just worrier.
I worry. I worry. Anyways, but yeah, I think when he's doing that, he's really feeling confident and feeling big, and that was just really impressive shift, that first shift.
Yeah, it really was.
Third period.
You're right, though. He was more noticeable throughout the game.
Yeah.
And when he's playing that way, it really pops. The thing with Mitch is that he can't play that way, right?
Yeah.
He's never going to go in on a forecheck and win a battle against a guy using his physicality.
No.
And so one of the things that I kind of came to grips with watching this game tonight, it's a tougher road for Mitch Marner in terms of the evaluation in games like this, because he's only really going to be able to rely on his skill. Like the defense is going to be there. Everyone appreciates what he's able to do defensively with his positioning, with his stick, with his reads of the game. Those are always a part of who Mitch Marner is. But offensively, he's not going to be like Matthew Nyes, who can just go into a corner and assert himself and be noticeable for a hockey game. And so for Marner, it's like it was 2 periods tonight where he was a ghost. He was just, he wasn't it. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to a spot, maybe we will, where like he just takes over a playoff series for 7 games. But when he gets his opportunities, he's got to come through. And he did tonight.
Yep. And, I think those two guys are obviously a great compliment to him, because you talk about him never being able to do the physicality. Like those two guys, if they get the puck going down low, they get the cycle, and the puck comes out to Marner, he's really shown much more ability and willingness to just hammer it in the past year, I would say, maybe even a little bit at the end of last year, but this year, like his shot really has improved. I mean, it's always high blocker. Like every goalie ever scores is high blocker. Another one tonight, high blocker. Or does Bobrovsky? No, it was high blocker. So it always enters the left side of the net, and he just shoots it hard. So if he can get into those soft spots while the other 2 mutants on his line are kind of working and cycling, it can work in the playoffs. But you're right. It's never going to be a physically imposing thing, and that's always been the issue when the playoffs start, when it slows down and grinds to a halt and there's not a ton of space out there. We know the complaints, but maybe with a couple more, scars under your belt, who knows, maybe it flips, and tonight makes you feel definitely better, no question.
I just think that more experiences that you can lean on, the better, right? Because one of my fears with this group always, that I've talked about for years, is when you get into a tough situation, and especially with Florida, right? Because you lose this game, there's a real shot you're playing them in round 1 and that Tampa ends up winning this division. Like that's still on the table.
For sure.
And I think that's the ultimate nightmare scenario for everyone, is that you face Florida in the first round and they've beaten you now multiple times in the regular season and just own you.
Yeah.
Like I promise you, the Leafs are aware of the missing players for Florida, and they don't care. They're just happy to be able to get win.
The points, baby.
Yeah,
Stop the points. And it's a regulation win against a team that you're going head to head with. And regulation wins are big in the tie break. Like, get the regulation wins against the rival. They don't care about people missing. And sure, would it be a terrifying playoff series going up against, did that matter not having Kachuk? And does that matter? Of course, but take the points. Who cares? Well, they don't care.
To that too, I'm seeing a lot of the chat is saying stuff like this, like Jacob Sheehan is like, Florida missing 2 best forwards and best D-men back to back, and Leafs have to white knuckle it to finish it. It's like, I don't know what some of you expected in this game in terms of what was going to happen from a desperate Florida team. That still, Florida's hallmark is that they're extremely deep. So even when they are missing players, they're very, very dangerous. And also, Again, like
it's championship pedigree, buddy. Like they have guys that just know how to win regardless of who's in the lineup. You think they're going to blow them out tonight? Like, what do you expect?
Not only that, but it's a process and result. The Leafs had better process tonight. Like if you go through it and you do the whole like, oh, they had to white knuckle it. What did Toronto have in this game? I think that by the end of it, they end up with the better goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they were more defensively sound in this hockey game, that Florida did not get to their spots the way that Toronto got to their spots.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Florida outshot them, but that's just the Toronto way. Toronto gets outshot. They get outshot. That's the way that it goes, and that's the way that it's always going to be.
Yeah.
Toronto had the way more high danger chances tonight. Like they were the far more dangerous team. Their stars came through in big moments, and they all contributed on the score sheet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't view that one. Like, yes, was it white knuckle? Was there a power play goal late that forces it from a 3-1 game into 2-1 game? Absolutely. But no, again, you have not been here as an organization. You have not been here as players. And that was one of my big takeaways in this thing too, is just how nice it is to have these games that matter. Having a warm up for these guys where they actually have to play meaningful hockey instead of just cakewalking into the playoffs and playing a bunch of basically exhibition games, all with the dread of like, oh my God, the playoffs are coming. The playoffs are coming. You just get to start the playoffs. You're just in it.
It's actually such a great point where it's just been how many years in a row have they known their playoff opponent by December? Feels like it's like it's been Tampa or it's been Boston. And
certainly by deadline time.
Like you definitely know who it's going to be. And they've never had the opportunity to play in these big, like their regular season games at the end of the year are always like, who are they going to be able to rest? And how are they going to be chasing 70? And like all these stupid things that you're talking about, as opposed to playing white knuckle tough games against good teams that you're trying to compete with. This has to be valuable. So it's an awesome point by you and one that I hadn't really thought about, but like, how can this not be helpful? How can it not be helpful?
Well, how could it just not be helpful to have it feel different?
That's what I mean.
Because you've already tried the same thing over and over and over again, and it's gotten you nowhere. So
that doesn't work. That certainly doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I got to talk about the second line before we talk about Stolarz. Yeah. I feel like the second line has become the first line.
Yeah, we did a mailbag yesterday with Borny and I, and a guy tweeted that into us and said like that's the better line, that's the first line. The minutes obviously aren't going to forecast that in terms of how much Matthews and Marner play at 5-on-5, but they're definitely consistently night over night right now the most dangerous line for the Leafs. Like it's ridiculous how good Nylander was tonight. I thought
Nylander and Tavares both I thought were just incredible.
And the thing, I think the reason that we don't necessarily lead with talking about how good these two guys are is because these guys have had more moments in the playoffs. They're smaller, like it's not a huge amount for anybody, but I think Tavares and Nylander have been consistently better in the playoffs than Matthews and Marner have. So maybe that's why you don't lead with it. But these guys have been excellent, and they were excellent again tonight. The play that Willie makes to Tavares on the goal, the like turn around, basically no look, slap shot pass on the tape for Tavares to tip home. And by the way, great play by Tavares to get his hand on that and tip it. Like that's a hard pass, kind of turns the blade over. Another goal for him.
Especially going into the net hard like that.
And I mean, you have to say it. Putting Bobby McMahon on this line has provided Tavares and Willie with the most chemistry they've ever had. This is the most chemistry. This stretch of hockey since they put Bobby McMahon on this line consistently is the most chemistry they've ever had in the whole time they've played together. And that's saying something because they've played so many minutes together. Am I not right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that there's a couple of reasons for it, some of which we've probably touched on a little bit. But I think that defenses are focused so much on those two guys, and especially Nylander as a transporter, that all of a sudden McMahon can just like catch you off guard with his speed. It's almost as though like the league still doesn't know how fast this guy is because often defensemen just aren't gapped with him. And then all of a sudden they're like in a foot race and like, holy crap, how is this big man moving his feet so quickly? And they seem to have like not watched video on who this player is. But what I really like about the line is they trust McMahon in transition and Tavares, they trust as a goal scorer, and Nylander has accepted this role of being more of a playmaker. And now as like a transporter who's not just like looking to drive the net or looking for a pass or a shoot first option, he's like a setup man. Look at the passes he made tonight. The chip that he makes to Bobby McMahon for his breakaway opportunity, best save of the night for Bobrovsky, the pass that we've already gone over on the goal to Tavares. I feel like his playmaking over this stretch with these guys has taken like a monumental leap. He's got defenses on their heels. He had like an NBA style crossover tonight where it was just like,
God, who was that fell? It was amazing.
Awesome. No, Nylander, this is the best he's ever looked. And it's a guy who got a Pasternak contract based on how he looked last season, and he's just continued to improve. And yeah, I just think that those three guys, the way that they fit together, the matchups that they get, the fit from what they all do and how they complement each other, it's dynamic. Great. It's perfect.
Great. No, it's great. And like you mentioned the contract thing, and we're, post-game show, not too big picture, but it is brilliant that in the first year of a huge contract, he's just had his best year I think he's ever had. Right? Like he was great last year, clearly. But it's never been mentioned. It's not. It's never.
That's how good the season's been.
Yeah,
there hasn't even been like 2 weeks of someone going like, if we were going to a time machine right now, okay, and we were going to go back to when that contract was signed, and you and I would have just had the truth serum. We're in the trust tree. Yeah. We would have asked each other, like, just privately sitting on my couch or yours, how many times next year are we going to talk about Willie's contract and how he had a contract season and how he's dogging it this year? We would have been like, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And now during the Leafs' most important stretch, I think that he's been their most important player. Like, it's him and Tavares. Like, pick which one you like more.
He was just buzzing tonight. When he's on, he is like, there's not many guys on earth that are more dynamic than him. It is like Borny said it best when he could skate with a glass of water on his head and it wouldn't spill. He's just the way he moves out there. It's smooth. It's direct. It's just dynamic. He's gone to a level I never thought he'd get to. And kudos to multiple different Leafs management that didn't give up on him. You give the credit to Dubas, who didn't give up on him. Give the credit to Treliving, who had chances to trade him, and they just never did. And he's now turned into one of the truly best players in the league. It's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, man, an all-time Leaf what if is like, what if he doesn't sign that contract?
Oh, and they said, you mean like the one that like the Nylander watch where it went like down to the final minute? Yeah, I remember that.
When the Leafs capitulated.
Yeah.
Like when they decided to give him his little bit of extra money. It's like,
what was it? 6-8 or like 6? It was like nothing. Thinking back now. Yeah. He was so bad when he came back. Remember how bad he was that first month or two when he came back? He was horrendous. Horrendous.
He was eating. He was sitting in Sweden just eating, probably going out every single night. And people were like, what are you going to do, Willie? He's like, I don't even care.
He's like, my agent will handle it.
Yeah. I don't get involved in my agent stuff. It's for them to handle. Yeah. No, he was bad, but I'm just saying it's a crazy what if. Okay. So player of the game. I'm a little surprised in terms of this, I'll be honest, but he was great. Player of the game, according to the chat, was Anthony Stolarz at 41%.
Awesome. Deserved it. Those 2 saves at the start of the third. That's where he gets it for me. Mm-hmm. It's not about, it's just about getting clutch saves. And can we have a conversation about the first one? It's a hard shot. Sure. You were mad at me for questioning it over text. You said, quote unquote, like, I'm too triggered to even talk to you about this. But like, I'm not going to die in the hill. It's a bad goal, but it's like, it's from the top of the circle, whatever.
Oh, it's definitely not a bad goal. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah, you can die on that hill. I'm not going to die on the hill that it's a bad goal ever. But I'm just going to say that like he may have saved a lot this year. But in the clutch, big clutch saves at big moments of games, this is exactly what you need in the playoffs. Yeah. And he made this huge save, and there was a cross crease one. I forget who it was on, if we're going to show it here. That was a monster save. And those are clutch saves. And we've been Stolarz guys all year from the start. And it really feels, it was Mikkola, right? It really feels like we're heading towards game one with this guy as a starter for me. You don't give this start to a guy you're not considering game one, right? This is a playoff game. You started him. He performed. This is a statement game for Stolarz.
I think it's over. I think he's the guy. I've been thinking that for quite some. He's won 4 in a row, and hey, I know you don't think it if you live in Toronto and you went outside today, but it's April.
What a save, man!
Yeah,
what a save.
A few things on him. On the first goal, I don't think there's a goalie on the planet that saves that. I think that's a perfect shot, and it's a bullet, and it's right underneath the bar. But I will say this. He didn't put himself in a good position to save it if he would have actually had a realistic shot at it. Like if he gloves that down, that's on every coach's corner highlight tape. Number one, look at this rainbow. Like that would have been
you're right.
A crazy glove save for him to be able to pull that one off. Like it's a perfectly placed spot or shot from a guy that's like got a perfect look at it, who's wide open and clean as the Leafs are scrambling around and lose their minds. But I don't think that Stolarz was in a good position. I don't.
He made himself small. He made himself small.
Yeah. And so optically, I think that the goal looks worse because he was kind of scrambling around a little bit. If I'm being dead honest, as a like certified card carrying member of the Stoll Army, I thought that he looked kind of shaky to start this game. Like, I don't know if it was me projecting my feelings on the player, just hoping that he wasn't going to be the main point of conversation, where it was going to be another goalie just doesn't show up in the least, I just can't stand to have that conversation.
You're scared for your son. You're scared for your son. You didn't want to have it.
I'm just tired of that more than anything. I just felt like for years, up until recently, it was this just like massive scapegoat storyline for a group that had underwhelmed in the postseason year over year, and everything got pinned on the goaltender. Did the past goalies have bad performances? Absolutely. Were some of the goals god awful that Freddie Anderson and co go down the list of guys let in? Yes. But I always felt like it was just like a overly simplistic way of looking at what this team was in the postseason. I'm like terrified of that happening again. But with Stolarz, there was just like, I don't think he was tracking it very well early. I don't. There was like multiple moments in the game where you could tell that he was kind of swimming around looking for pucks. The second period, I thought early on specifically, like I was nervous, man. Some of the rebounds were not great. And I thought, yikes, he's probably going to let in another bad one in this hockey game. And it's going to be Wolves net to lose. Like that's how razor thin I thought that this was. But to your point, like the third period, McCabe gets gassed after being on the ice for like 2 minutes, tries to get to the bench for that change. And I can't remember who it was on that shot attempt that just drives the net. And Stolarz uses just his size and strength to keep that puck out of the back of the net. And like, it doesn't even end up being close. And then the second one, the Mikkola one, like that's also vintage Stolarz, where it's just like a huge guy who's also sneaky athletic and able to just get across. And then the puck is smothered. It's gone. Like there's no puck that bounces out into a dirty area on these goals. It's just, hey, the big monster ate the pucks. And that makes you feel confident is the third period Stolarz that you saw. And you want to talk about like not having done it before, man, Woll has playoff games. Stolarz came off of duty.
Good playoff games.
Yeah,
like Woll has brilliant playoff games.
This is the biggest game of Stolarz's career, and it's actually not even close. This is it by a factor of 1 billion. He was playing for a starting job on a Stanley Cup contender, and he played his best period in the third against his former team. It's a massive moment for the guy. Couldn't be happier for him.
Gotta feel good. Gotta feel good. Gotta feel good.
He's getting the belt.
Yeah, probably. I could see Marner too. Marner probably get it. I feels like he's always in the picture. Feels like he never. I don't know. If
former goalie gets a win against his old team.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, we both can't vote him, so I'll vote Marner gets the belt.
You'll vote Marner? Yeah, that's the way that this game works. Okay, can we do some of the less positives now, or do you have?
Yeah, I wish the third line looked better.
Yeah,
I wish the third line was better, really badly.
Yeah,
wish Braden Shen was on the third line. Tell you that much. Oh, you can't pay the picks. You can't pay the. Oh no. It's like Lots is crushing it right now. When's his moment coming? That's not at 1 a.m.
I guess the Sharks. The way I was going to ask you this question was, what was the most memorable moment from the third line tonight?
Domi blowing a coverage and it ended up in a 2-on-1, and Sam Miskevich almost shot it into a wide open net on the 2-on-1 that he blew a coverage on. I thought Domi had legs early. I thought everybody had legs early. They were rolling 4 in the first period, and I thought he was kind of buzzing a little bit, and he felt like you're like, oh, it's going to be another Domi kind of big game here. And they went away, but I couldn't really tell you one particularly great moment that they had at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree that I thought Domi brought energy early.
He did.
And that he was noticeable. But as the game went on and as the game got tighter checked and as it got harder and Florida started to impose themselves in the second, I think you could run a lot of shifts for those guys tonight where they ended up being in their own end.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be like, here's the solution, but there is no solution. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the solution. And, you look at the ice times here, just quickly checking, Camp goes out and Scott Laughton still only finds a way to play 12-21 tonight. I guess there wasn't a ton of penalty kill time because there wasn't a lot of penalties, but even still, Domi plays 14-27. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it just, yeah.
So I was thinking about this too. I think that at this point, if Camp's out, you got to bump him back down to the fourth line and try him at center there.
Laughton?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like, I was massively in the camp of, you got to bump this guy up. You got to give this guy a chance. You got to really try to ingratiate himself to this lineup. And I don't agree with that anymore. Now it's like you have to put him back down because
again, he's not going to be the offensive player that Max Domi is, right? Like, there's a reason why Max Domi has the contract he has versus, when Scott Laughton hits free agency and what his will look like cap percentage wise. Like, Domi's going to be able to get his opportunities in transition. Again, his couple chances from the slot tonight. But overall, you were just kind of looking for that line to have an identity or a purpose or a feel. And it's another game where I thought it was an important one for them. I really did. I talked about it a lot on my show this morning. This is a huge game for these guys that, this isn't Scott Laughton has gotten a pretty big pass for me just in terms of, hey, the situation that he's jumped into and the expectation that people have when you give up those kind of assets. But I just needed to feel him in a game against a really chippy, deep team where, he's hitting guys or he's winning a puck battle or, he's getting in on the forecheck and, forcing a guy to make a turnover. And it just, I didn't see any of it. Maybe I'm blind. Maybe I tried to really focus in on his shifts, kind of on what he was doing. And then Yarncroc sort of the same thing where, he's an additive player. He's not a driver. And so when the line isn't when there isn't somebody else driving that line, he's not going to be noticed too much. So yeah, it didn't work for me tonight. And it's going to be kind of curious what they end up doing here. And if Camp's out, I think that it's pretty clear that Nick Robertson will jump back in the lineup. And then I think that you go with the third line of Robertson, Yarncroc, and Domi, and then put Laughton down on the fourth line as the Camp replacement.
Yeah, which is crazy. You said those words. But so Christian put in the chat, Luke Fox, no immediate injury updates on David Camp and Jake McCabe. That happened. Was that on the ref thing with McCabe?
I was not aware Jake McCabe was hurt.
Yeah, he went out at the end of the game, but like I didn't think it was. I thought maybe it was equipment related. Like it was like the last shift he didn't play, but they said he went down the tunnel. And was it the ref collision that happened? Like I didn't see what happened on him. I didn't see what happened on Camp either. But that's a concern. So
yeah,
I thought maybe he had
that'd be a
or
pretty
something.
Horrific loss if they end up not having McCabe.
Yeah. Well, everybody's gonna get their wish now. Myers is gonna get to play, so everybody be excited then.
Luke says that there was a different collision that caused it.
Okay.
So,
okay. Luke Fox.
Who got hit really hard behind the net to end the game? Was that him?
No, that was Tanev, or was it him? Maybe it was him behind the net.
Somebody on the Leafs got buried on one of the final, like the last minute of the game, just like right behind the net. I don't know if it was him or if it was Tanev, but yeah, I thought maybe that it was that.
Yeah.
By the way, the last minute, like white knuckle stuff, but also Mitch Marner moments, like the play he makes from his back to clear that puck.
Yeah, jumping up in the air, grabbing it. Oh yeah, he's really good defensively. So
yeah,
and the last Luke Fox thing I'll read here for today is that he 9th consecutive playoff berth, longest active streak in the NHL. They clinched. How exciting!
So weird to have the 9th longest or the longest consecutive playoff streak and just not care. It means nothing.
Zilch. Zippo. Like it's sad, man. That's sad that it means so little. But
it's like when the Raptors would win the Atlantic and then LeBron would cruise past them and then they'd hang that Atlantic banner the next year. You're like, yeah.
So your boy, what's your boy from Hockey Illuminati's name again? Frank?
Yeah, Krupe.
Yeah. So I saw his stat, or they were talking about it on Chicklets or whatever, that the last time that the Red Wings and Bruins didn't make the playoffs was 1967. You know the last time the Leafs made the playoffs for 9 straight years was
67?
1967. Yeah, our year, baby. Yeah. Our year.
We'll say that there's a lot of good stats for it this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Luke says I have the McCabe collision, but I'm not sure. I'm not certain this was the play, but it was right before he left. Okay, here we go. We're gonna do some. We're gonna do some investigative journalism. Yeah, this was it.
Was him.
That was it. That was the one you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
So that's definitely where it happened.
You know, Luke and Christian both telling me not the collision. And then
no. I was talking about the ref collision. That's what they were saying.
I know.
Different collision.
I know it's the ref collision. I'm saying that during the show, I was like, yeah, was it him that got buried behind the net at the end of the game? And both guys like, no. No, guys. I rely on my producers to help me out, not to bury me and make me question my judgment. All right, let's get it together here, team. All right, I got nothing else other than one thing.
Okay, I got one. We don't really, again, we don't talk about the refs, but can we get the play I asked for at the end of the game, the Sam Bennett play on Tavares? Like, I gotta ask, what do you have to do to Sam Bennett to get a penalty? They just called a penalty with 5 minutes left on a way less dangerous play. 5 minutes left in the game. That's a game ender. You skate up behind the guy and you kick your leg out and you take him out. Like, call the penalty stripes. You're looking right at it. You're standing right there. It's a greasy play. And listen, that's Bennett. But obviously, and that's a game ender. Penalty, offensive zone draw for the Leafs, game over. You can't do that. That's a dirty play. And Sam Bennett just gets away with murder every game. I just drove me crazy they didn't call that. So there you go.
So I don't talk about the refs, but I don't understand how the divers get reputations where they don't get calls, but then the guy like Sam Bennett,
does that guy in the league
to Tavares, who is not a diver at all.
No,
how many times have you seen Tavares embellish?
Never once
in his Leafs career.
Not once ever. Literally never.
So you see 91 and 9 get together, and he comes up from behind him like that. Maybe just
call it. And the game.
Just call it. Maybe just go reputation call on that one and say, hey, if you blew it, who cares? Hey, Sam, don't do that your entire career and then you lose the benefit. You know what I'm saying, though? Is like Michael Bunting embellishes for a season. Yeah. He comes back and he can't buy a call because he showed up the refs. So where is it the other way is what I would like to ask officials if I ever talked about the refs. That's all I would say.
Nice.
That's what I would say.
Nice got the belt. Wow.
Game winner.
Yeah, for sure. But
I think Stolarz got it a couple of games ago. So it's a situation.
I mean, listen, the zigzags have a hard hat that you give out at the end of the game. And every game could be the goalie. So you have to mix it up. But if there was ever a night that Mitch was going to get it, tonight would have obviously been the night.
Yeah, you try to mix it.
You don't give it to the best. You don't give it to the best players ever either.
That's what I mean. He's the goalie and the best players. Now he's
basically who's the guy who's not the goalie or the best player that was good in the game gets the belt.
Pretty freaking much. Yeah. My only thing is that the amulet jokes reached its pinnacle tonight.
CC, yes.
No one can do it and be funny anymore because he's like, maybe he charged the amulet. And I was so excited. I love it. It got my ears just bing. I can check out on the play-by-play and the commentary throughout games. I'm just thinking about a lot of things during the games. I'm taking notes, right? I'm pausing, sometimes rewinding. And that just, I loved it. But and now it's over. No one can really. You can do amulet jokes, but Chris Cuthbert did it on the broadcast. It's not going to be as good as that. So you got to be super creative with your amulet jokes moving forward here. You can't just kind of throw those ones around.
I think our bit though for Leafs talk, if the Leafs actually do make a run, we got to get the amulet.
We're buying the amulet.
We're getting amulet. If they go conference finals, amulets, right?
Well, if he's if he continues to do this.
Yeah. Conference finals or second round.
You know what it also might be though?
That he got 2 weeks off in the middle of the season.
What?
That he got 2 weeks off in the middle of the season. That he's been amazing since Four Nations. Oh,
I was going to say that what it might be is that since he entered his career, they were saying tonight, it's like he's behind only Stamkos and Ovechkin in goals since he entered the league.
Yeah.
And
he might be just really good.
He just might be really good. He might just be a really good hockey player that a lot of people in this market thought was a bum and then was scoring a bunch of huge goals. And people are like, where's this coming from? And he's going, my whole career has been this essentially.
Check my hockey DB. Point per game every single year.
Yeah.
I've played 1,300 games.
But at the odd chance that it is the amulet, then we're gonna have to buy the amulet, and we're gonna get work to hopefully pay for it, and then they won't, and then we'll pay for it.
The's no shot.
Yeah,
they don't have any money left. We don't got any money left, buddy. We got the hockey. It's like there's no amulet money.
That's true. There's nothing left for sweet old Leafs talk. We're not getting a taste. We're not getting a taste for a while. If you want it to continue, if you want the boys to get a taste, just subscribe to the podcast. Even if you're a YouTube listener, it really helps us out when you subscribe to the pod. Leave 5 stars on Apple and on Spotify. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JD Bunkis, at Sam A. McKee. This was a fun one.
So here's what's on your off Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Me and Jackie Redmond.
Yeah.
On a Saturday night versus Columbus. Man, she must really like us to be able to do that with me. So really excited to have Jackie on Saturday. And
She's a very good friend.
And then I'm gone. So this is our last Leaf talk for quite some time. I'm gone to Hawaii. So
so it's going. We got all the regulars in rotation for the stretch run.
Yeah.
Because it goes Jackie, Bourne, Petrelli.
Nice. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Can you tell that I got a tan today? When got a little tan? Do I look tan?
Yeah.
I hit
the first one. The first one only comes in as burn until the next day.
I hit the bed. God, the bed feels good. It could be addicting. I might be a bed guy now, boys. Like it's pretty addicting.
If I wasn't so scared of the big C, I'd live in the tanning beds. It's the best feeling.
The place I went today was so greasy, dude. It is such a greasy spot.
I went to, you know me, I went to a bougie one, obviously. Bloor West is a nice little tucked away beauty one. I'll say this though. Everybody told me, okay, this is anecdotal evidence, and listen, the thoughts and opinions of JD Bunkis do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of Sportsnet at large. But when I was going to the tanning booth, I got all the people coming out of the woodworks being like, it's so bad for you. It's so bad for you. Like, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is I went to the Virgin Islands, hung out on a beach after doing a couple of tanning sessions, got that little tiny, like, red at night. Slight burn after the day in the sun. Obviously, I'm using screen. But it still bleeds through, right? I'm going in the water. I'm in the waves. You know, I'm a swimming guy. I'm in the ocean.
Sunscreen is just it's all it is just for your mental health. It doesn't
exactly. It's just pure. I don't put it on 30 minutes before I go out in the sun. I just slather it on as soon as I take my shirt off and I'm in the water 10 minutes later. It's not doing anything for me. And I'm in the water all day telling people to come out here. And then I go back in, I towel off, I sit under an umbrella for like 20 minutes. I'm back in the water.
Yeah.
Anyways, I get back. I got that light little pink from night one in the sun.
Yeah.
Everybody else next day barbecued. You know who made it through? Old ghost skin here. You see this complexion? This is Nordic white. This is as pale as it gets. This is like you do this like scales of white to paint a wall. It's like my skin white is the top tier of the whitest whites. And I was fine. And I just ripped through it tan right away. So I'm not endorsing tanning beds.
Sounds like we got to get Fabutan as a sponsor, boys.
But like it kind of rocked. So
JD bed kiss over here.
Yeah, they're back. You better believe that before the Toronto Sun gets out here, I'll be back in. I'll never go on vacation to the sun without it again. Ever.
Totally agree.
Anyways.
All right. Good bed talk.
Yeah. That's time for bed talk now, as in my pillow. Tomorrow on the pod, I got Chris Versteeg, Jason Bukla.
Oh, you're coming on our pod tomorrow. Tomorrow at 4:00. You're coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I'm on tomorrow as well. I got a busy day.
Yeah.
So tune into all that content, subscribe to those other shows, and then Sammy will see you with Jackie Rimmon on Saturday night, and then I'll see you on Tuesday with Justin Bourne.